Good morning, everyone. My name is Vaishali Kasture, and I'm the India leader for strategic projects at AWS. A very warm welcome to the session today, which I thought I will do on demystifying what is digital transformation, a very much used and sometimes abused phrase as well. Uh, Growing up, we were told as children, don't sit in a car where you don't know the owner, don't go with a driver whom you've never met before, don't take free candy if someone's handing it out to you. And where we live in the current day and age, we are very comfortable getting into a taxi, which we know very little about, having conversation with a driver whom we may have never seen, and occasionally perhaps even taking free candy. So that's how the world has changed dramatically on the back of the power of technology. So what's my goal today? I thought I would break up this into three parts, which is why should we talk about digital transformation? Why is it important? What is digital transformation and what is really the value at stake? And finally, how are your competitors leveraging digital to drive perhaps you or your business model out of business? And even if I can make you look at the world a little bit differently at the end of this session, I think it will be mission accomplished for me. So moving on, how let's talk about how you can why we should talk about digital transformation. I think all of you will have several times heard about, read about Mark Andreessen, who very famously said, in 2011, that software is eating the world. And there have been many pivots on this phrase, which is software is eating the world, SaaS is eating software, APIs are eating SaaS. But at the end of the day, I think, technology is literally eating the world one bite at a time. And in nearly every industry, in some way or the other, physical has become digital. There is, I mean, if you look at just the substitution business, which is streaming, replacing records, tapes, CDs, MP3, or the actual separation of the value chain, which is the customer experience being separated from the fulfillment side. So it also takes me back to something that I read, in Ernest Hemingway's book, The Sun Also Rises. The character is asked, Mike is asked, so Mike, what is making you go bankrupt? And I loved what he says. I'm going bankrupt in two ways: gradually and then suddenly, which is exactly what transformation and innovation is all about. That it lurks around the corners, it nibbles on the edges, and then suddenly it's appending your business out of nowhere. I mean, we're all familiar with BlackBerry, the company that practically invented the concept of the smartphone. And even after Apple launched in 2007, for a good 2 to 3 years, they still continued to be the market leader when it came to a smartphone and particularly business phones. And within 3 years, you know how that story ended. When you even think about simple things like my business can't really be disrupted. I own parking lots. I mean, what are you going to do about parking lots? And little did we realize that the fact that we have Ubers and Olas, the value of parking lots may actually be going down. So innovation matters because it helps you to create software, and it helps you to look around the corners and use data to look around the corners to see what's happening. Even the customer experience and the employee experience, what I'm calling CX and EX, is changing all the time. I mean, customers are now looking at you through a completely different lens. But who would imagine that someone looking for an IT solution might actually be browsing Instagram, or that competitors might actually be shaping the perception of your company and your technology. And experiences like these drive expectations for people from different organizations. And you deal with customers and employees everywhere. At the end of the day, your employees are your missionaries, giving your message out into the world. Therefore, innovation matters because it helps you to design, think like leaders, and delight your customers, and attract and retain staff who are going to be, like I said, your missionaries. I also feel when I looked at the statistics around Sri Lanka, and I have a lot of statistics around India, but I really deep dived into what's the landscape like in Sri Lanka. And I believe even in Sri Lanka, we are have in the middle of a perfect digitization storm. 10 million digital users, up 4%. This is based on the end of 2019. I don't have the last 8 to 10 months data, which I think should even be more dramatic in my mind. So 10 million plus digital users, 6.4 million social media users. And what's interesting is that the internet penetration is still pretty much less than 50%. So there's a long runway there to go and capture that the rest of the market. Number of mobile connections is 31 million, up 7%. Number of people having mobile connections as a percentage of total population is 150%. So more mobile connections than actually the physical population in Sri Lanka. So all of this really makes it like a petri dish to spark innovation and digital transformation. And the opportunities are unlimited. The scale is what you may make it to be. And giving another example that when you're a doctor or a consultant, you've trained exceptionally hard, but at the end of the day you have only so many hours in the day, and that's your ability to scale may just be 12 hours or 18 hours of working harder and working longer hours. But now, when you think about pivoting to a service-based company, which is where many of the technology models have come from, and organizing digital products, you are then able to get every incremental customer at perhaps close to zero marginal cost. And that's how the concept of being limitless, once you transform or enable your business to be digitally transformed, that's what it can get you. Therefore, innovation matters because it helps you imagine and invent new businesses and new business models, which really help you to build your future. Coming to the what, I thought this data was, really interesting. This is from, I've taken it from HFS research, a little bit from Gartner, KPMG, and taken a lot of inputs from research reports. But what is digital transformation? I mean, how would I define it? Let me first tell you what it is not. So digital transformation is not something with a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a continuum. It doesn't start or stop, but it's a continuous process. Digital transformation does not have a finishing line. It's about becoming an organization that is capable of deploying technology in an agile manner at scale, innovating, experimenting, pivoting, trying out new things, failing fast, scaling fast, and giving you the business outcomes that you need. So in my mind, it's really a continuum. And a couple of interesting data points that really come out, which is that what happens when you digitally transform. First thing is growth, 35% higher revenue growth than competitors. New revenue streams. CEOs expect digital to account for almost 46% of the value customers see in their products. Agility and speed, I think we all speak a lot about that. A CIO survey said the number one reason for using cloud was agility and speed. And a profit, obviously 47% of IT executives stated that profitability is a top-notch benefit of their digital, initiatives. So, moving on, I wanted to share a little bit about, what do we do at AWS to enable all of this? I mean, people say digital transformation is transforming your customer's experience, improving your own business operations, ensuring decisions are taken faster in a more agile manner, and obviously, innovation, which is sort of the wrapper around it all. And so, essentially, we said, at AWS, how do we look at it? We're seeing that there is a tipping point where AI and ML in the enterprises is addressing, phenomenal use cases. Customers are transforming their capabilities using all kinds of things, from conversational interfaces to biometric authentication, personalization, forecasting, engines, recommendation engines. Businesses are seeing, a better ability to do their own whole supply chain management, demand planning, forecasting. AI ML is helping companies make faster decisions in healthcare, for example, going from reactive to a more predictive model in health tech. It's also helping customers create newer products that they could have not imagined, or create new business models that did not exist. So I'm also going to talk you through later in the presentation about a couple of use cases where we've helped customers harness the power of tech. And on this slide, I've given you a vast array of things that we're doing, and those highlighted in orange, like IoT, AI, analytics, ML, is really where I feel the action is happening, particularly in this part of the world. If you look at the Southeast Asia as a continent. And what's important is, yesterday's technology can't power today's advances. I think that's becoming very, very increasingly clear to us as we talk to our customers and their requirements. But on the one side, you have all this cool stuff saying this is the power of tech. We have, phenomenal new technologies. We can be agile. We can get outcomes. But if you really talk to most of the CIOs or the CTOs today, particularly say, on the enterprise side, customers who are not born on the cloud and who are at the starting point of their journey, most of them will tell you that if you see the orange part and the green part, and if that's the total amount of your spend or your time available, that 90% is just going in keeping the lights on. Where is the time for innovation? Innovation figures in just that little sliver of 10%, and that's what we are hearing, that the costs are high. It takes us phenomenal amount of time when someone has an idea that they want to experiment or innovate. The cost is high, the technical debt is high. Although everybody wants to focus on innovation, but 90% of your time is just going on keeping the lights on. Again, when you pivot and talk, so that was the CTO conversation. When we talk to CFOs, they aren't happy either, saying every time we need to do something, we need more CapEx, we need to order more servers, we need more to manage capacity misalignment, we have to deal with obsolete technology, there are more headaches, and to fund that, we have to cut costs somewhere else. So, talk to CTOs, they aren't extremely happy. You talk to CFOs, they aren't very delighted, at this stage either. So how do you try and get, how do you then start on your journey of digital transformation? So that's going to take me to the sort of the second part of the section. And just wanted to share with you a little bit more about, many of you may be familiar with the cloud. Some of you, if they're particularly in the enterprise space, many startups which are born on the cloud, will obviously not relate to this, but many people who are making that transition to the new world will relate to it. Like, what are the benefits of the cloud? But I'll just recap them nonetheless. Old world used to be large upfront capital investments, whereas the cloud today helps you to do it at a low cost, variable cost, pay-as-you-go models. In the old world, you could only get focus on basic compute and storage, and you were busy doing that. Today, with the cloud, no matter who you pick, you will get a variety of array of services to build upon, not just infrastructure, but platform as a service, and then even going on to things like AI and ML. In the old world, was responsible for management. Today, especially at AWS, I think what we really want our customers to do is leave the undifferentiated heavy lifting to us and focus on your core business and your core outcomes that you can measure your business on based on what your customers want, what your shareholders want, and what you want to achieve, and leave the undifferentiated heavy lifting to someone like us. And again, in the old world, we were slow to get new capabilities, whereas in the new world of a digitally transformed business, you have unlimited scalability, particularly when you work on the cloud, it's practically unlimited. And of course, there is agility and speed. And I thought what I would do, in the next step is walk you through a quick sort of a speed round of what we are doing, of a couple of case studies where we have helped our customers not just use AWS, but use many of the ISVs, independent software vendors, who work with us. And that's actually, when I talk to enterprise clients, that's actually a phenomenal starting point. When you have a problem statement and you're looking for a solution, a great way to trigger your journey on the cloud is to partner with one of the thousands of ISVs available, ISV solutions available in the world. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples so you get a sense. So the first example is obviously from e-commerce, fashion e-commerce. And the problem statement at Uniqlo was that product discovery was an issue for the customers because they were heavily reliant on text. And they introduced a solution where we could search basis of an image instead of keywords usage. So you're on your mobile, you click a picture and you can search for the product. You don't need to actually type it in. And given how visual the world is going in, away from speech towards a video and photographs and away from text to videos and photographs and speech, this helped them improve their search and gave them a 4 to 6x increase in conversion. And obviously that leads to more engaged customers and therefore repeat business. The other is Hive Exchange. This is in the wholesale business. It's a marketplace for fresh produce was, the problem statement was fresh produce was not able to spot best customer leads. We introduced them to Freshworks, which is again one of the Indian ISVs, very early on, established several years ago, among India's first B2B startups. And based on their solutions, it led to multi-channel lead consolidation and drove auto enrichment of leads. And what was the outcome was obviously faster sales cycle, 4x faster, 20% increase in monthly revenues, and 33% increase in productivity, which really sounds like music to my ears. The next one is to talk a little bit about what we do at Amazon, which is Amazon Fresh. And I think many of the startups or many enterprises or SMBs might relate to this, that there is a physical manual check of the quality of every single item before it's shipped to the customer. And this can be extremely time consuming and slow down your supply chain and delivery. So the solution that was implemented through machine learning algorithms and obviously computer vision to detect items that were damaged and not in line with quality. And after the implementation, I think they had tremendous benefits. Over 50% of fruits and vegetables usually go waste because of inefficient and accurate distribution. This enabled them to keep their supply chain moving faster, as well as identify defective items using computer vision and machine learning. So, lots of details there, but won't go into that right now. A couple of other customers. Piramal Glass is in Piramal is a leading enterprise in India, and Piramal Glass is all about glass packaging solutions. Their problem was the inability to capture real-time data for defects in the production line, and they used factory-wise acquired data, did the analytics capturing for defects, and the bottom line was that 25% improvement in employee productivity, 5% reduction in defects, and all came from just real-time capturing of data and analytics on the production line. Another household name in India is Godrej, which is in the consumer durable space. Their challenge was extremely high expenditure on energy across plants, and they wanted to get, their problem statement was they wanted to get more efficient. Solution that was implemented there is automated energy data analytics. It helps them to reduce the downtime in the plant. It eventually actually helped them to even get a 10% reduction in savings on their energy cost, and eventually a reduction in maintenance cost, and therefore leading to a reduction in supply of the manpower cost by 15% as well. Another favorite example is Tata Consumer Products. Again, Tata is a household name, in India, and a great brand around the world. Again, their problem statement at Tata Consumer, which was around global beverages, was the lack of a future-ready IT infrastructure. They felt that they were not agile, flexible, and scalable as they were starting on their digital strategy for the company. So they felt, let's first fix this and then kick off digital transformation. So the solution was that they took up a pretty massive initiative to migrate both core SAP and non-core SAP applications and all other production workloads onto the cloud, and eventually got a 15% reduction in their infra hosting services, and more importantly, a 12x faster report runtime than traditional systems. And that really laid the foundation of the start of their digital transformation. You can see the quote from the global CIO at the bottom of the slide as well. So now let's come to the how. How do you actually kick off on your digital transformation journey? And what I'd like to do here is give you a little anecdote. In Amazon, I think about, this is a very popular anecdote that goes around, that about, I think 10 years ago, the leadership team, including, Jeff Bezos, got everyone into a room and said that irrespective of whether you run a research team, a fulfillment center, an HR organization, or any other business or function, you need to start using machine learning. And no is not an acceptable answer. So this forced the leadership team, top down, domain experts, technical experts, to really work together to answer this question. And today, I think, we very proudly say across the Amazon, various businesses, that there is not a single business or function that hasn't been made better through the use of machine learning. But this didn't happen overnight. There was a huge cultural, technological shift in the way the leadership approached this top down, and just said that, we're not going to take no as an acceptable answer. So, people usually say, so, what do you need to do? What's, is there really a formula for digital transformation? And, I'm going to quote Andy Jassy, who is the AWS CEO, and he really speaks a lot about this at many of our customer meetings, that how do you really start your journey of transformation? And the couple of things that he says is that it all starts top down. It starts with the leadership team. The leadership team needs to have the will to invent and reinvent. It's not just about doing it one time and being done, because we have to acknowledge that you can't fight gravity. If you're not going to invent and reinvent your business over and over again, then someone else is going to do it and you're going to be out of business. The second is, we need to do this to solve real customer problems. This cannot be a science project that someone goes on the side and does some experiments because they sound really cool, but you should always start with a real customer problem that you want to solve and work backwards from that customer problem. The other is architecture, of course. We spoke a little bit about this, that your architecture needs to be such that it supports rapid growth and change. You can't work on a 30-year legacy architecture and say, I'm going to digitally transform my business. The other piece is the way you construct your organization. Just like you break up monolithic applications to microservices, you've got to deconstruct your organization. And what we do at Amazon is we call them two pizza teams. So a team should be just large enough that they can manage with two pizzas. So they have to be small, they have to be agile, they have to be nimble, and most importantly, they have to be empowered to take decisions. And then, of course, there is talent. There is talent 2.0. You've got to get in talent which is hungry to invent, reinvent, and which is comfortable with failing and falling down and trying again. I think that DNA of the client is extremely important, is what we've seen at Amazon. And pull everything together, of course, with top-down aggressive goals. And speed is extremely important in our business as well. And you can see we've said race to the power of culture, because every well-laid strategy can still be waylaid by a poor culture. So culture eats strategy for breakfast. We've heard that over and over again. So culture needs to be something that sets the tone right, and again has to come top down from the organization. And to end my presentation, I thought I'd end with this, that, people say we're so busy with our day jobs, I just don't know how we're going to have time to transform and, digitally transform and innovate and reinvent ourselves. How on earth am I supposed to build this into my regular routine and create forcing functions within my team, in order to innovate? The one thing that we've learned at Amazon is that, invention really rarely happens by accident. You have to be intentional and create mechanisms and create a breathing space, a room for invention and transformation. And you have to select the right kind of people who are builders at heart. And like I said, people who are willing to take the risk, people who are open to failing and open to taking the risk. And I know for a very long time, we used to even say this at Amazon, that we're different and we're willing to be misunderstood because we know what we're doing in the long run. So you need that kind of a genetic DNA as well. And of course, if you never want to be criticized for doing anything new, then I don't think you should start your journey of transformation or digital, innovation or transformation or reinvention. So I think that's about my time and my presentation. Thank you so much.